Hey Wargamers! Images from Shadow War Armageddon are hitting the internet, so let's take a look. Alright, so today we gotta look at Shadow War Armageddon, and really I just want to talk more about what this means for 40k moving forward than anything about Shadow War itself. So if you haven't noticed or if you haven't seen, I have 2 videos on 8th edition already. Go ahead, check those out. They're in the description below because they're really going to provide a little bit more context for what we're talking about here. So if you haven't watched them, pause this video, go back, watch those first 2 videos, and then get back over here and we'll continue this discussion. So really I'm hoping that Shadow War Armageddon gives us an idea of where GW is going with 40k. And right off the bat, it's completely possible that everything in this Shadow War Armageddon book is standalone, doesn't have any influence on what's going to be happening with 40k moving forward. It doesn't reflect any of their development ideologies or anything like that. But, you know, let's put that aside for just a moment, right? Like I said, completely possible that this has nothing to do with 8th edition. But let's put that aside. Let's think about what it might mean, even if it's just a small amount of a preview, what it might mean for what 8th edition will look like. And specifically, again, I want to talk about the Tau, but I think this applies broadly as well. So they have pictures of this on the internet, right? But they're really low resolution, so I'm not going to put them in the video here. I'm not going to embed them for you just because it's too grainy. You're not going to be able to see it. So again, check out the description below. There's a link to sites where you can get that, Fate 212 and his sources. So check those out. You can read the rules if you want, but they're just not video quality. So follow along there too. But yeah, so there's 2 main things that I think that these images show us about what 8th edition might look like. The first thing is the movement phase, or the movement characteristic. So if we look at the images that we have for Tau, has Pathfinders is moving 4 inches and drones moving 6 inches. Now, I think that's interesting, right? Because it reflects kind of what we would expect for Tau movement characteristics in the future. Tau themselves, they're pretty short. So they're not going to be super agile. They're not going to be very fast, so 4 inches seems reasonable. Drones and crisis suits, things that are currently jetpack infantry, yeah, it makes sense that they'd be moving 6 inches. So I think that, you know, maybe that's what we'll see. Maybe we'll see 4 and 6 as the respective move characteristics for Tau moving forward. And there's still a possibility that the jetpack rule or mechanism will be completely overhauled, but you know, probably something similar to what we have now, either, you know, the 2d6 roll or reverting back to just a standard 6 inches forward backward. So either one of those, I think it's completely compatible with what we see now. So having a 4-inch standard infantry movement and a 6-inch jetpack infantry movement, that works. That's cool. And so that probably suggests things like Guard, probably also going to move 4 inches. Most standard infantry probably going to move 4 inches. You might see Marines moving 5, just because they are, you know, enhanced humans. So they might be a little bit faster. Things like Eldar probably are going to move at least 5. But Tyranids maybe even 5 as well, right? Bugs are fast. Probably things like Armagons going to be moving a little bit faster. Things like Biovore is probably going to move a little bit slower. Something like that. Yeah, so that seems legit. I think that has some interesting implications. Complications too, if you want to go that way. Implications for game mechanics, right? That means that for Tau units, positioning is going to be even more important, especially if you're bringing infantry. Less so if you're bringing mobile things, right? That we still maintain that mobility. But if you're bringing Pathfinders, if you're bringing Fire Warriors, your positioning is going to be even more important because you can't run away anymore. Well, at least not at the same rate. So being able to move only 4 inches as opposed to 6 means that you're a lot more vulnerable if you're out of position. Again, rewarding people for the movement phase and assault armies in particular with 8th edition. So that's consistent. And it's going to bring an entire new, well, not entirely new element to the game, but it's going to force people to reconsider their strategies. They're not going to be able to do the same thing that they're doing now. That's for certain. All right, so that's the first thing, right? Movement phase, movement characteristics. It gives us a taste of what that variability might be. The second thing is AP. In the Shadow War Armageddon data slates here, there aren't AP values, right? It's all armor modifiers. And, you know, I've heard people speculate that maybe these armor value modifiers are not going to be very large in magnitude, right? Maybe the best you're hoping to get is a -2, a -3, or something like that. But the Shadow War document here suggests otherwise. So all the AP values in this, or all the armor modifier values in this, are the equivalent of the AP value that they have now. So pulse rifles have a -2 modifier because they are normally AP5 under the current system. So something that has an AP5 has, you know, a -2 modifier because you go from 6 to 5. So that's -2. Something that has an AP4 has a -3 modifier, like an ion rifle. And that's what we see here. So really, again, that shows that maybe the transition into 8th is not going to be quite as jarring as the transition from Warhammer Fantasy into Age of Sigmar was. You know, it could be something very simple where existing codices are still valid until they get updated rules, but in the interim, you just say, okay, if it's AP5, that means it has a -2 modifier instead. So easy transition, right? And I think that's interesting as well, right? I mean, there's the potential for that. I mean, that makes a lot of Tau weapons a lot more powerful, actually, right? Instead of having a pulse rifle not do anything to a 4-up save, now it's making it a 6-up save, right? And if that's the Tau baseline, that -2 modifier, if that's the Tau baseline, that's making a huge difference for any unit that it shoots at, right? If you're shooting at Terminators, now instead of them having a 2-up save, they're having a 4-up save, right? So there's 3 times as many chances for them to fail their save under shots from Fire Warriors as there would be otherwise, which is crazy. I mean, that's really good. And so this is something that could, kind of counteract the limited ability for Tau infantry to move around, but also means that maybe we see a little bit more diversity in armies. Maybe we see a lot more Fire Warriors, Pathfinders, Breacher squads, things like that. Maybe more Kroot, maybe even Vespid if that works out, because the Vespid weaponry, one of their big shortcomings right now is that it's just not, they're overcosted for what you get. They're not mobile enough, they're not tough enough, they're not strong enough. But if you make their weapons have this really good armor modifier, maybe that helps the scales more towards Vespid being okay again, especially if they get a modified movement value, right? If they're faster, that helps Vespid too, right? And I know a lot of people, myself included, would like to see Vespid be good because they're fun, and this this is a way to do it. So yeah. So overall, I think the Shadow War Armageddon stuff gives us an idea of how we might be able to transition into 8th edition, or how 8th edition might look given current rules right off the bat, right? Again, it's completely possible that this is a standalone thing, doesn't matter, isn't going to influence 8th edition is going to be completely different. But if it's not, things look pretty good, right? So let me know what you guys think in the comments below.